Welcome to Real Scoop Live, a show for pool chemistry enthusiasts where we talk about all the coolest chemistry stuff you never knew you wanted to know. Any chemical advice or suggestions are opinion and utilized at the discretion of each individual pool operator. With that out of the way, let's start the show.
Welcome back to the Real Scoop Live. It's Stacy and the boys. Today's episode is What's New? It's pool show season, and that is one of the most common questions that the guys get at the booth is what's new with API? So today, Matt and Brett are going to tell you what's new.
Just so you know, it's going to go a little informal today. The PowerPoint is off. We're going to the desktop, baby.
Old school, yeah. So that, Stacy, thank you for the introduction. And Brett, I got to tell you that the new cross-eyed look, I'm going to make it so, I mean, it seems to me like all these are going to be carbon copies of each other, right? Because you're not going to know which one you're watching because you're making that the normal face. Yeah. So we've already had a few shows in the pool industry in the fall of 2022, which is when we're recording this. And we have had so many people in our booths talking to us about different things, specifically wanting to ask questions about OxySplash, about Easy Pool, about Pepper for Salt pools, about our new enzyme product, and even Easy Solution. But we wanted to concentrate on the two new things, or the two things where when people say, hey, what's new with API? The two big answers are OxySplash and Easy Solution. So we figured, well, you know what? Why don't we do an episode? And this isn't a scheduled episode, but it's just one that we're thinking, well, we had so many people asking the same kind of questions about these two products that we thought that, hey, why don't we do an episode on it? So
bonus
this will be
content.
Bonus content, right? And so we're not going to tell any jokes necessarily, like some other bonus content ones, i.e., Happy Father's Day. But we did want to talk about some of the things we talked about at the most recent shows. So we actually handed out a flyer in the last show that was basically for those who are operationally minded. So this would be people who are either working as a service company, working as a
Distributor,
in distribution, or anything like that, and certain things to think about. So this all started because of this picture, and I don't know if you can maybe zoom in there, Brett, but this picture that one of our fellow employees took at a warehouse recently. And it was funny because he said, hey, do you realize that this is the same amount of shock doses on these two pallets? And you know what? As much as we've talked about, sold, used, had experiences with OxySplash and everything, I don't know about
it kind of blew our hair back.
I didn't even think about that, about how this is. Now, this is 4 cases of 2-pound OxySplash. Remember that OxySplash takes a half a pound to shock 10,000 gallons. So in other words, a half a pound of OxySplash equals 1 gallon of liquid chlorine. So in this sense, these 4 boxes of OxySplash, of 2-pound OxySplash, is the same as a whole pound of liquid chlorine. So that's huge in and of itself, right? So you think about it from an operations manager or for someone who's worried about a warehouse space. Essentially, you're talking about 2 pallets of OxySplash equals a truckload of liquid chlorine, or 13.5 pallets of liquid chlorine. So if you're worried about warehouse space, then you essentially are saying, okay, well, I only have to find a place for 2 pallets or 13 pallets. Which one would you rather have, right? I'd rather worry about the 2 pallets. Now,
and not to talk over the top of you, Matt. It's actually 1 pallet of OxySplash that equals 13 pallets of
I'm
chlorine,
sorry.
so it's even better.
It's even better. So now we're talking about 1 pallet of OxySplash, the 2-pound OxySplash. 1 pallet weighs 1,700 pounds compared to traditional non-chlorine shock, which requires 2 pallets, which weighs 2,500 pounds, compared to 13 pallets of liquid chlorine, which equals 22,000 pounds. So if you think about that, it's not just from a warehouse standpoint, but from a service company standpoint, that you're
breaking your back.
That your trucks are carrying 22,000 pounds compared to 1,700 pounds. Your service techs are lugging 22,000 pounds back and forth, both from the warehouse to the truck, from the truck to the backyard, all that stuff. But, and this is maybe even one step further, think about the plastic waste the single-use plastic difference between using 13 pallets of liquid chlorine compared to 1 pallet of OxySplash is incomprehensible. So if you're tired of looking in the back of your truck at all this waste that has to go into a landfill that you can't recycle, or that's sitting in your yard, or that's piling up in your dumpster because you can't get it all in at one shot,
or having to call for extra dumpster pickups every week, because that definitely happens. Because if you fill that sucker up, you got to have them come out multiple times.
Right.
And the business owners know how much that sucks to have to pay extra just to have them pick up your trash.
Exactly. And it costs, the cost goes way up. Now, here's the thing. You might be thinking, come on, guys. I mean, it's non-chlorine shock compared to chlorine shock. Well, okay, so let's talk about it chemically. The OxySplash actually uses active oxygen, not hypochlorous acid. So the active oxygen has a much better oxidizer in it. It's a stronger oxidizer than typical shock or typical chlorine shock. It's actually more than 2 times stronger than the typical non-chlorine shock. So if you're using MPS or the things, or maybe you have MPS for, a hotel or an indoor pool or whatever you're using it for. This is actually much stronger. It's longer lasting and it's easier to use. There's also, it doesn't change your chemistry of your pool because it's relatively, it's a little bit less than balanced at 6.7 pH. But if you think about it with liquid chlorine, which has roughly a 12.9, 13.0 pH, you don't have to use anything to counterbalance what the OxySplash does like you do with the other things. So it's right around 7. You can swim in 15 minutes. You don't have to worry about telling a family, hey, don't go swim until tomorrow. Or you don't have to worry about how much cyanuric acid you have in the water and how long the chlorine is going to last. None of that is part of it. And there's no residue for using OxySplash. So it's like a win-win-win-win-win. The only thing it doesn't do, which no non-chlorine shock does, even OxySplash, which is the next generation of chlorine-free shock, it does not kill algae. So you will still have to carry some liquid chlorine or some Cal Hypo with you. But if you start with a pool that has no algae and you use OxySplash with contaminant, or which kills all the contaminants and makes your chlorine last longer and be more effective because it doesn't mess with the pH, the chances of you having algae go way down. So
you're never going to get rid of all types of chlorine. You're still going to need some,
right.
But if you can replace some of the heavy labor intensive shock that you're currently selling and replace it with OxySplash, it can make you a heck of a lot more efficient. Right. And at the end of the day, time is money and it can make you more money. So if you think of it like that, one of the biggest resources you can't get more of is time.
Right. And we're not just talking about apples to apples, because apples to apples per shock dose, OxySplash is less than most other traditional shocks. But we're talking about all the existential stuff, right? If you're spending less time at a distributor, less weight, better gas mileage, less time, lugging things to and from the backyard, the efficiency of your workers go up, the efficiency of service technicians go up, the amount of products that you have to use to take care of a pool go down, right? So it's like all these other wins that actually make it so much better to use something like this as opposed to the stuff that you're used to because it used to be cheap, right? It's not cheap anymore.
Yep.
So this is definitely a cool alternative. So when we talk about things like that at a show, that resonates on so many different levels for so many different people that we actually have others coming over and saying, hey, can you tell us about that again? Or I want this guy to hear about this.
Tell my buddies what you just told me.
Tell my buddies what you just told me, because they see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel and it's not a train. So that's one of the big things that we talk about. The other big one is easy solution. And this is, OxySplash is a big deal. It's made a big splash in the industry and in the company, but this has the potential of having even a greater impact on society as a whole, right? So, Brett.
So we've talked about Easy Pool and Pepper before and the benefits of multi-function products. That's awesome. Typically, the dosing has been relatively easy. Once a week, add your product, call it good. Well, as time's gone on, we found people are less and less willing to do anything to take care of their pool. And we mean that in the nicest possible way. They want to be lazy. So if
everybody wants to be lazy, right?
Right. Well,
but the thing
we're
is
enabling them now.
Well, that's true. That's true. But a lot of people think that they paid $80 to $100 to $120, $150,000 for a pool so that all they had to do was swim.
Right.
And they don't realize that there's a ton of other stuff to do. Right.
So typically to take care of a pool, all the normal stuff that most of the professionals out there know you have to do, oxidize contaminants, use algicides to help keep algae from forming in there, clarifiers to keep the water clear, balancers, stain and scales, all that stuff. Well, the beauty of multifunction products is it's all in the bucket. We found a way to essentially turn that into a liquid so that you can feed it directly into the pool. And you don't even have to remember to do your weekly dose. It adds it every day. The neat part is this was a scaled down version of what we do on the commercial side. So these types of setups are already used in large Olympic sized facilities. We just shrunk it a little bit for the residential use, which is pretty darn cool because essentially you've got the setup of a commercial pool on your backyard pool. The automation is so simple. There aren't probes or expensive things that have to, because it's a regular dosage. You set the feeder once, you hit go, you keep the tank full and enjoy your darn pool. That's what you wanted to do anyway. Really, really positive feedback from builders who are playing with this. Matt and I, actually, I'm going to pull up those pictures here. Matt and I last week.
And by the way, this is less expensive than some of the other alternate equipment that's out there. And there's really nothing to it. There's really nothing to it.
It installs in 25 minutes. I mean, if you can drill a hole and tap a hole, that's pretty much how you do. You need an outlet to plug in the feeder and a place to set it down next to at the equipment pad. So this was an equipment pad Matt and I helped at last week. They went with an Easy Pool solution feed, the Easy solution, and then they also went a little bit extra because they had a cartridge filter that they were having to take apart and clean 2 times a month, and they were tired of that. So they put Ezyme Pro on, so it's auto feeding an enzyme directly into the pool. And over here, they've got phosphates and other junk in their water that they continually have to deal with because of the autofill that's on the pool. Well, they're auto feeding Revivent. So it's taking care of all the other contaminants, the metals, the scaling carbonates. So between this system here, I'm gesturing with my hand at my computer screen like that would make sense to anybody on the internet. It doesn't. It's taking care of 95% of what the pool needs chemical wise. So the rest of the only other thing that they've got on there is they've got a chlorinator that's dialed way down to feed a minimal amount of chlorine in. And we're doing the rest of the work using this stuff. Pretty darn cool. And the feedback Matt got about an hour ago via text was,
it's incredible. It's never looked better.
Boom.
Perfect timing.
I know,
timing because
right?
we were talking about doing this. And yeah. And I said, so how's it? Well, I texted him yesterday. I said, how's it looking? And so today I text him and say, that bad, huh? He goes, no. I just didn't see the text. It looks great. It's never been better. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. It
came together really well. It's not a hard install. If you want information on it, yell at us. We're happy to get that stuff out.
Okay. So let me just say that this is a guy that has his auto feed is on a well. Okay. He has a lot of kids with a lot of friends. There's always a lot of people in the pool. And he has one of the 4-banger cartridge filters. So it's like a big cartridge filter with 4 cartridges in it.
He didn't get the V6.
No. So essentially you have a products here that not only take out the impurities and the contaminants that are in the well water with Revive, but also extend the life of the filter with the Ezyme Pro and break down all the heebie-jeebies that the kids are putting in there from suntan lotion and you know how kids are, right? So suntan lotion, all the other stuff. And then you have the Easy Pool in there to actually, I mean, it's a 10-foot pool. You know, he hasn't really been able to see the main drain for months and months and months. And now 4 days on, he's like, holy crap, I can see everything is awesome. So that's the kind of benefits you get from it. Now, do you have to use all 3? No. And what happens if you have a salt pool instead of a chlorine pool? Well, fine. Instead of using the Easy Pool Easy Solution, use the Pepper Easy Solution. So you can do the same thing in the same setup with Pepper. So if you have a salt pool and you don't want to worry about scale, you don't want to worry about your cell going bad prematurely or having to fight anyone for warranty, or that there's a problem getting cells right now and you'd like to prolong the life of yours to make sure you have one. Well, That's where you get a pepper feed.
And don't want to have to remember to add it.
Yeah. Oh, that's true too. That's true too. And here's the other benefit too. I said, hey man, how often do you mess with your pool? He goes, geez, like every other day. I'm always trying to do something. I said, well, let me tell you that with this thing, now this guy has a 45,000 gallon beautiful pool. I said, essentially the liquid product's going to last you for a couple months. Is that right, Brett? If you remember right, it's a couple months, right?
Yeah.
So you'll have to get a new one of those every 2 or 3 months. With the Easy Pool, I mean, come on, you're going to have to mess with your pool about every 11 or 12 days. So like, really? Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the hardest part of that is putting a hose in the tank and putting 5 pounds of Easy Pool in. So
yeah,
that takes,
you know how hard it is to scoop that stuff.
Oh
right?
my gosh.
So you fill the tank halfway, you put in 10 scoops of Easy Pool, and you fill the tank the other halfway, and you put the lid back on.
Call it good.
Right? Call it good. So
there was that one. And then the final thing that people were getting excited about at the most recent
we're really excited about this
show we were at. We actually have profiles for Easy Pool, Pepper, and Easy Spa in WaterLink Solutions Pro now. So if you're using a WaterLink Spin Lab at your show or at your retail shop, or you've got one of those little travel boys like on this flyer here, and you take it out to the job site with you, you can actually have our profiles right on there. So if you've got someone who's using Easy Pool, we had people ask us, well, I never know what to tell people to do to their pool if they're on Easy Pool. Now you do. It'll spit the information right out at you. So in terms of training staff, it makes that a heck of a lot easier because you don't have to remember any special proclivities. It's all right there. Just made Easy Pool even easier, which is kind of
so that makes it a lot easier when someone comes in with a new with a new pool or as a new customer, and you say, okay, so are you on chlorine, salt, or Easy Pool?
Boom.
And odds are they'll go, well, I'm on chlorine, but what's Easy Pool? Well, it's the stuff that makes taking care of your pool easy. It's this bucket over here. You just throw in a couple.
I ought to have that.
Scoops of the chlorine tablet, and you have a good day, right?
That's right. Well, cool.
So that's it.
That's pretty much what we had for what's new. I think some more things will probably pop up as shows get kicking into high gear, and we might do another rehash on this one, depending on the shows that we do and additional feedback from the field, because that's what's neat about going to the different areas, because we explain something in a certain way and it resonates really strongly one specific way with a person is in an area, and it could be a completely different reason in a different area. And it's always eye-opening to see how people are utilizing products and programs. So if you've got fun things, throw them at us. We're always happy to hear them.
That's right. So any kind of questions or comments, please feel free to leave below. Check out our YouTube channel, which I think you probably saw this on there, right? The Real Scoop Live. You can search it there. Like, share, and subscribe if you care to. You can also hit the notifications. It helps the channel out. We appreciate you being here. And any kind of questions or anything that you have, if you don't want to leave a comment publicly on the YouTube channel, you can text us personally at 877-274-7261. And with that, we'll talk to you later. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.